Hello friends, this is a beginner-friendly painting tutorial on how to recreate the painting Bold and Brash by Squidward Tentacles. Master copy, if you will. For my materials, I'm just using a pretty standard and affordable canvas. This is from Hobby Lobby. It was maybe $3. This is 11 by 14 inches, and looking at my reference photo of Squiddy holding his painting up like this feels like an appropriate size. It like takes up his whole head and goes down to like here. I don't know why that's important for me to feel accurate, but it is for me. So standard canvas, and I use Liquitex Basics, or these are Master's Touch acrylics. It's just one of the most affordable brands I can find at a craft store, and this is just for fun, and we don't need anything fancy here. I've never even used a fancy acrylic, so I don't know if that's worth it. Brushes, just the most affordable brushes I could find at the store. Doesn't make a difference as long as they're big enough in a size that you like to work with. So I'm just gonna start by going in with a background color that's similar to his background color, like a yellowy orange, because I don't like to paint on just white so that there's no like white spots showing through. So that is my first step. So this is what I'm working with on the background. Just going to generally get kind of the same color as the background just to have kind of a place to start. So I just loosely covered the canvas in our entire background color, and it doesn't have to be perfect because we will adjust this a little bit later. So in the original painting, there's kind of like some texture, some like lighter and darker spots around kind of like the figure. So I'm gonna go in with some lighter, some darker. I might mix up the tiniest bit of orange because it looks like there's a little bit darker orange at the bottom. Okay, I'm happy with that base, so I'm gonna let it dry and then we can go in with the figure. We can always adjust this after. So for actually getting our Squidward onto the canvas, I've been drawing for a while, so I'm pretty comfortable just kind of like looking at my reference photo and kind of like judging the proportions and shapes and everything just by eye, but that's not always super beginner friendly. I know that's kind of scary. So you can do some sort of a grid method, or I will show you how you can do a little bit of a graphite transfer to get it perfect if you're a perfectionist. But we're doing this just for fun, so try not to be a perfectionist. So if you don't want to just try to copy the image by eye, you could definitely do something like a graphite transfer. Pretend this is something I printed out from the internet. You could also take the photo of the original Bold and Brash on some sort of software where you could do an outline like digitally and then print that just so it's like not the whole image. I don't know, wasting ink or whatever. But pretend I printed this out at the correct size I want it on my canvas. So on the back side, I would use a pencil or a graphite stick or something and cover all the places I need with graphite. This is what we're going to be pushing onto the canvas to get our image. So then I would flip that back over, pretending that's my canvas, and then I would trace, oh my god, my pencil's out. I would trace all the details that I want to include of my Squiddy. I'm not doing a good job because this is actually not what I'm going to do, just showing you. So once you do that, the graphite, I should have pushed it on from my pencil like to the other side. Well, you know what I mean, like push this down, making the other graphite transfer. So I didn't do it super, like you can see I didn't do it very consistently, but you can see that it created that Squiddy from the front. So that is definitely something you could do. For the drawing, I started with a pencil and I just marked out where kind of the outer edges of the figure was. It looked about an inch away from each of the sides. And then I went in with an acrylic marker so I could see it a little better. And this really just does take lots of time and practice, which is why I showed the other method. But I'm kind of looking at the figure as just a series of shapes and lines and angles, and I'm kind of getting each line in proportion to each other and just paying attention to the angles, the slopes of the lines, and how they kind of roll into the next line, and trying to judge the proportions to make sure the shapes are correct. Once I was happy with the outline, I went in with kind of a base color of this teal green, and then I blocked in the eye. So I started with just color blocking, one flat color, and then I went in with the shadows on kind of the outlines, and I have my reference image up the entire time, so I'm just paying attention to kind of where the strokes are and where the light and dark is. The little tentacle pad was kind of purple, and there was bluish suckers, so I tried to just kind of match that color by eye, and then I continued to go in just kind of layering different teals and stuff, trying to make it a little bit more accurate to the image. And I know this can kind of feel scary, but you really don't need to do this exactly like how the reference image shows, as long as you're noticing where the lights and the darks are and kind of just staying consistent with the shadows and everything. You really need to be looking back and forth often between your reference photo and your canvas, I think, for the best results. So now I'm going in with a little bit more of the background color. I wanted some more kind of painterly-like strokes from the oil paint that he might have used, and there was some lighter spots I wanted. Okay, so I'm almost done. The only thing that I'm missing is there's an outline, like a black outline around the edges, and it's pretty thick, and it's pretty like painterly, you know? It's not like just one consistent line, so I'm gonna use a brush with a little bit of water. This was actually the hardest part for me, just because with the eye, my hand was so shaky, and then my canvas was still pretty sticky, so I couldn't kind of get a smooth motion. But I found that watering down my acrylic pretty heavily made for the best results, and then kind of just letting my hand like glide. And this is how it turned out. I was honestly a little scared doing the lines because I thought I was messing it up. But at each step, as long as you do it generally correct a little bit, I think it comes together in the end and turns out really amazing.